We are back on WGN-TV Political Report. David Moore has been alderman of the 17th Ward for nearly 7 years, representing parts of the South Side on City Council. But he's got deep roots across Illinois, and now Moore says he's ready to take his platform statewide.
You know, it's a calling that I'm building on as alderman. What I love about that seat is like my aldermanic seat. It's a constituent-driven seat, and it's a nonpartisan seat. You just get to serve people regardless of party, regardless of race, regardless of ethnicity. It's just a serving seat, just like being alderman, and I love serving people.
One of the proposals you've had is about creating virtual license plates. I was really intrigued when I saw that. You talked about it being streamlined and economical, but I think they're like $1,300 a pair. So talk to me about that plan.
Absolutely. They're digital license plates, and what it is, it serves as a mechanism for safety when we're dealing with these carjackings that's going on. If your license plate is stolen, if your car is stolen, it can read out stolen on it, and you can get people apprehended. So therefore, there's a 90 to 95% of chance of somebody's getting caught. Therefore, there is a deterrent, and so also it's a cost savings mechanism, actually over a 5-year period.
Except for the $1,300 price tag.
The initial fee to get it installed, which you don't have to pay up front, but over time, over that 5-year period though, that cost goes down, and there's a $250 savings. And there's also a savings to the taxpayers because there's 3 things. You don't have to go into the office to do your titling, you don't have to go into the office to do your renewal, and you don't have to go into the office to do your registration. And so that can be a streamlined process to keep people out of office so we can reduce those fees.
Your 2 main opponents in this race are slinging arrows at each other on TV over abortion, over ethics issues, but they leave you out of them. So I have a 2-part question. Number 1, what is your reaction to those attack ads? And number 2, you think they've left you out because they don't see you as serious competition in this race?
No, they left me out because I don't have any ethical issues. If I had ethical issues, I'd be in the mix of that. So I've always not only ran my aldermanic office, but I've carried myself to making sure that I'm focused on the residents, not trying to enrich myself or my family. Also, I'm not using this seat as a stepping stone. I'm not looking to be the next senator or the next governor. This is my last stop, and just like Secretary White, I just want to serve the people and give and provide them the resources that they need across this state.
We don't get a lot of open seats in this state, right? So now this is an open seat in terms of the race with Secretary White retiring. What do you say, though, to people who are frustrated with just the way it's been under Democratic control and say, you know what, it's time to return to a Republican Secretary of State, which we've had in this state, most recent being George Ryan?
I don't want to get caught up in whether it's Republican or Democrat. And again, that's why I said I like this seat, because it's a nonpartisan seat. You just get to serve people. But what you don't want to go back to is using this seat as a political seat. And that's why I supported Secretary of State White back in 1997, because under that leadership, before Secretary White got in, it was mired in corruption and scandal. And that's because what? People are using it as a stepping stone, and they do things instead of focus serving on the people. So whether it's Republican or Democrat, the point is you want someone that's ethical and have integrity in that seat.
Let's talk about voting. Unlike most states, the Secretary of State in Illinois really doesn't have a lot to do with the elections process. But you have on your website and your platform, you talk about expanding voting to young adults, returning incarcerated citizens. How do you plan to do that? What are the proposals that would come out of the Secretary of State's office, or are you going to need the legislature to take care of that?
Okay, absolutely. Partially through the Secretary of State's office. So one of the things I want to make sure we're doing is that when someone turns 16, we already have automatic voter registration. What I want to do is build on that. And so when someone turns 16, they can get their license, but they cannot register to vote. Well, on their 18th birthday, they're going to get a birthday card from me saying you're automatically registered to vote. Getting them engaged in the political process quick so we can get our young people engaged. That's very critical. And then making sure I advocate for access to the ballot, making sure that I advocate for protecting the ballot. And so that's when I talk about the responsibility of the Secretary of State.
We know there's a lot of talk, certainly on the Republican side, about election integrity around the country. What is your sense of election integrity issues here in Illinois?
I don't think that it's a problem here. Based on what I've seen and what I've looked at, I'm a committeeman, and so it's important to me that these election cycles run well with our judges. And across the state of Illinois, I don't think we're faced with that issue.
When you look at modernization, that's always everybody when we're running for Secretary of State, it's technology, it's modernization, and all that. has Secretary White done a good job since the time he's been there, and what would you do? What do you need to improve on?
Right now, I graduated from West Illinois University with a dual degree in accounting and operations management. And when I worked for Fortune 500 companies like Ross Perina and the Clorox Company, we had to modernize. Secretary of State office is still on a mainframe system. And when we're talking about data security, data protection, and people's information, it's good that we start going to cloud computing and modernizing that office to not only be efficient, but we're protecting people's data as well.
What do you think the main problem is among drivers today? I got a thought, but what do you think the biggest problem is?
Among drivers, people speeding. People are just really speeding really fast, and you don't see people getting pulled over anymore. And so we have to make sure that there are consequences to speeding, and I think that's what the main problem is with drivers today.
Well, let me toss one at you that I was thinking about, which is distracted driving.
Yes.
And what is it the Secretary of State's office can do with people who are texting and emailing and whatever else they're doing on their smartphone?
Absolutely, and so and that goes with that. So that texting, when you're texting, it's equivalent to being a drunk driver. There's been reports and studies on that, and so I want to make sure that I'm running a campaign ad in our community, throughout this state, and making sure that we're communicating, especially to young people, but adults as well, the importance of not texting. Putting it out there, how many people are dying because of texting, and then within 5 seconds, how you could just be unfocused and somebody make a lane shift and you can crash into them. So that's very critical, and so that's something I want to focus on.
So it sounds like you're going to focus on it by getting information out, let people know the facts. But aside from that, is there anything your office can do about it?
Well, as you're out there as the Secretary of State, and you got the Secretary of State Police out there working in conjunction with the state police, making sure that we're holding people accountable. But the main thing is to really get information out there.
Organ donors, that's been real important to Secretary White. He's just always focused on that. What's your sense of the job that's been done? What needs to be done, if anything, in that realm?
Absolutely. So I've been working with organizations already as an alderman in the 17th Ward, because what I've come to realize, even before running for Secretary of State, there are so many dialysis centers popping up in our communities, almost like liquor stores sometimes on every corner. You see a dialysis center, and so again, it's about using my office and using the libraries to get that information out so we can teach our young people even about the importance of organ donation, but not only after death, but even living organ donors, so that it's not a stigma anymore, especially in many communities.
You mentioned libraries, and that of course, a lot of people don't even know that the Secretary of State's office essentially oversees the Illinois State Library, administering the library's literacy efforts. So what programs do you have in line for that part of the job?
Absolutely. So right now in Gwinnett, Georgia, they are doing, Gwinnett County, Georgia, they're doing libraries build businesses. So I want to make sure that we are helping our returning citizens come back, give them a 6-month training program where they can learn about business, and that goes within the Secretary of State's office as helping people incorporate their businesses. But also I want to make sure we're using VR technology, using our library as community connectors. And I was the first one in this race to say, even using our libraries as satellite offices. When we talk about technology, a lot of people are challenged with broadband access or even just using technology. And so I want to make sure we're using our libraries as satellite offices where people can go in and do those quick things like titling, renewal, or registration, and put some of them resources closer to their home, and that way we can keep those lines low at the driving facilities.
You mentioned a couple of times you are alderman for the 17th Ward, and that's an area that you oversee. You're now going for a statewide job. So what message do you have for people who live in Champaign or live in Rantoul or other areas to say, here's why they should pick the former 17th Ward alderman and make him Secretary of State?
Absolutely. One of the things I did, I graduated from West Illinois University in Macomb, and that's why I announced from. The reason why I announced from Macomb is because I was an RA in college, worked with various people across the state, not only as an RA, but as in student government. My first job out of college was at Ross Perina in the Quad Cities. So I lived in the Quad Cities for a couple of years. And so I have relationships all throughout the state. As we circulated petitions, it was those people coming out helping me in Peoria County, and Adams County by Quincy, Illinois, and Decatur, in St. Clair County by East St. Louis and Belleville. They did petition drives for me because of my work that I've done, what that I did when I was younger. And so I have relationships all across this state, and I'm their son as well. So that's why they're coming out and supporting me.
Now, Jesse White has endorsed City Clerk Anna Valencia to take his place. We'll be catching up with her next Sunday morning. There are 2 Republicans vying for their party's nomination. You can find my interviews with Dan Brady and John Milhiser on WGNTV.com/political report. Still to come on WGN TV Political Report, they once served in the highest offices in American politics, now both at the center of the January 6th hearings. Both the former president and vice president are headed to Illinois this week. We'll tell you more when we come back.